Alright, this is a video that's going to help with solving systems of equations using matrix inverses. So a little background information to kind of start us off before we get going. Remember that the solution to a system written in a matrix equation, A times X equals B, is found by multiplying both sides by the inverse of A, or what we also know as A to the negative 1, or A inverse. So we basically, what we've done is we've set up a three-step process where step number one is we want to take the system, okay, so this being the system right here, taking the system and putting it into matrices, matrix A, matrix X, and matrix B. So let's go back and kind of refresh and review that a little bit. So matrix A, remember we call that the coefficient matrix. And the coefficient matrix is exactly like it sounds. It is the matrix that's made up of the coefficients. So in this case right here, we get 2, negative 4, 3, positive 5. And that's known as our A matrix or a coefficient matrix. The next matrix is what we'll call the variable matrix, or matrix X. This is actually what we're going to find. This is the solution that we're looking for. We're looking for the X's and Y's, and so this is made up of our X and our Y. Okay, and once again, that's called our variable matrix, if you care to keep track of that. Alright, last but not least, what that gives us is it's called our constant matrix. It could be, in this case here for this terminology, we use the variable B for matrix B. It could be C for the constant matrix, but we'll call it B. This either can be called the constant matrix, or it's also known as the solution matrix. So it kind of just depends on, you know, who wrote the book, or, you know, who the mathematician that you're talking with. Okay, and that's made up of 9 and 17. That's your constants, the numbers that don't change. Alright, so that's essentially step number one. So there we are. We're done with step number one, is just taking it from the system and identifying our A, our X, and our B. Okay, step number two is to find A inverse. So step number two, we're given our matrix A right here. So we use our formula for inverse. Give me just a moment. Alright, so recall that the formula for the inverse matrix is going to be found, oops, sorry about that. The formula for the inverse matrix looks something like, having some technical difficulties there, looks like this guy right here, excuse me. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and move things around and find our A inverse. So we have A inverse is equal to 1 over 2 times 5, which is 10, minus 3 times negative 4, which is negative 12. Okay, we take that and we multiply it times this new matrix where we're going to switch a few things around. Now remember, this is our A, this is our B, this is our C, and that's our D. So when we flip things around now, we have up here our D will become up here, our A will move down here, our B and C do not change spots, they just change. That's negative 4, so it becomes positive 4. That's positive 3, so that becomes negative 3. Alright, go another step, we simplify, so we get 1 over 22, and that's 5, 4, negative 3, and 2. One last step, and we won't even simplify in this case, we'll leave it as is. So one last step would be, we get 5 over 22, we get 4 over 22, we get negative 3, over 22, and we get 2 over 22. Now, some teachers may ask you to simplify those, but what I found is that, if students are using a calculator, it's going to simplify for them. If they're not using a calculator, then what happens is that they basically get a situation where, the calculator is going to simplify when you're adding or subtracting anyway, so they'll be all right. Step number 3. Step number 3 is to take A inverse and multiply it by B. So that's to take this guy right here. So let's do this the easy way. Let's take a little picture of him. Okay, so that means take this guy right here, and he's known as A inverse. Give me just a moment. Alright, I'm back. So we take A inverse, this guy right here, and we're going to multiply him times our B. Okay, just give me just a moment. Alright, so I went in and paused there while I filled that out here. So what I have is I have A inverse according to the formula, and we're going to multiply it times matrix B, and what we'll get is we'll get matrix X, and matrix X will be our solution. That'll be, when we get this matrix, it's going to be a 2 by 1. The top number will be my X value that will work in the system, and the bottom number will be the Y value that will work in this system. Alright, so when we multiply, a couple reminders here as we get started is that this guy right here is a 2 by 2, and this is a 2 by 1. So therefore my product will be a 2 by 1. So let's go ahead and draw ourselves 2 blanks right there. 1, 2. That's where we'll be able to put our answers. Alright, so we're going to take 5 over 22 times 9. Remember, all we're really going to do is multiply the numerator times the numerator, and so we get 45 over 22 plus, we take the second term times the second term. So first row times first column. Alright, so 4 times 17 is 68. So I get, let's make sure I got the right color here. Yep. I get 68 over 22. Alright, let's do the second row with the first column. So I get negative 3 times positive 9. That's negative 27 over 22, plus I get positive 2 times 17, and that's going to be 34 over 22. Now right here, this step right here is the reason that I mean, if I'm using a calculator, it's no big deal, but as a teacher, to be able to actually show people where my numbers come from, be able to show them that 5 times 9 is 45 over 22, 4 over 22 times 17 is 68 over 22. To be able to show that, I leave my common denominators, because now the next step is so easy. Because in the next step here, we get our final answer, or close to. We know our denominator is 22 on both of them. So we can go ahead and put that in. And all we have to do is add our numerators. So we have 45 plus 68, and that is equal to 113. And on the bottom we have 34 plus a negative 27, and we get 7. Alright. And at this point we'd look to see if we can simplify anything. And give me just one moment, I'll be right back. Alright, and that finishes up. I went and double checked to see if we could simplify either one of those fractions, and it seems like we can't, so our final answer is 113 over 22 and 7 over 22. That right there is my, excuse me about that, that right there is my X matrix, and therefore that means that X is equal to 113 over 22, and Y is equal to 7 over 22. And those are the solutions. I mean, that is my solution. Those are the values that I get, that I can use right there. Those are the X and Y's that if I plug in right here that make this system true. Okay, so that's solving a system using matrix inverses.